There's nothing better than hearing one of your own players being tipped for football greatness. We will talk about this today as one of our star players has been tipped to go to the very top of football. Not only that, we will also go over all the latest Celtic news from the last 24 hours. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Jeffrey Schlup has completed a move to Norwich City, ending speculation over a possible return to Celtic this summer. The 32-year-old has signed a one-year deal with the English Championship side after weighing up interest from multiple clubs. As reported earlier this week, Schlup had been in advanced talks with Norwich, despite some reports linking him with a second spell in Glasgow. Schlup joined Celtic on a short-term loan deal in January before his contract at Crystal Palace expired in the summer. The versatile Ghana international made a solid initial impact, filling in at left-back during a period of injuries. However, his influence faded in the latter stages of the season, with Greg Taylor reclaiming the starting spot and Brendan Rodgers opting not to pursue a permanent deal. His free agent status had made him an attractive option earlier in the window, particularly with Rodgers considering options to strengthen his fullback depth. But ultimately, the club decided against a renewed approach, and Schlup now takes on a new challenge in the English second tier. With Celtic still exploring left-sided options after Taylor's departure to PAOK and the potential emergence of Hayato Inamura, Schlup's move south confirms the club's attention has shifted elsewhere in the market. Now for the main story. German football expert Derek Ray has backed Celtic midfielder Arne Engels to go to the very top, insisting the 21-year-old has all the tools to thrive under Brendan Rodgers despite criticism in recent months. Engels arrived at Parkhead last summer in an £11 million move and remains a key figure in Rodgers' plans heading into the new campaign. While some fans have questioned his impact, Ray is convinced the Belgian has the potential to become a top-level performer, drawing on his development in the Bundesliga as evidence. Ray had this to say, "I have to say I am a believer that Arne Engels will go to the next level, and I say that because I saw the strides he made when he joined Augsburg. Now, actually, I was in the stadium in Dortmund commentating against Augsburg when he made his debut, and it was a surprise. He had just joined. It wasn't a high-profile transfer. He had just joined and he was named on the starting 11. It was a very dramatic 4-3 game in Dortmund's favour. But Engels immediately looked really good. And what I liked about him in Augsburg was that you could see that it was a versatile player there. They would often use him as somebody who would sit deep and call him a defensive midfield player, but not in the sort of traditional Scottish interpretation of a defensive midfield player, somebody who's maybe a bit roughhouse and robust and putting in challenges, but more of a sort of good-on-the-ball defensive midfield player, a number 6, as they would say in Germany. But you could see the evolution there, and you could see that he could play in a number of other positions too and could take a very good corner, certainly in his repertoire as well. So I think that he went from being a €1.5 million player to being worth 10 times that in a very short period of time, eventually joining Celtic. So I do think that there's a player there, still young, who has the ability to go even further, and I think he's in good hands with Brendan Rodgers as his manager, Ray concluded. Rodgers isn't losing patience with the player. He's actually impressed with what he's seen from him in his debut season in Scotland. The price tag doesn't help him, granted, but as Rodgers said earlier today, it wasn't the player who set that. Another thing that doesn't help is that many expected him to replace Matt O'Reilly, but both are completely different players. Engels did still get his fair share of goals and assists, but not quite to the same level as Matt O'Reilly in his final season in the Hoops. The hope is that Engels really kicks on this season and proves his doubters wrong. With Nygren in the door competing for a midfield spot too, competition for starting spaces has shot up. In other news, Motherwell midfielder Lennon Miller is edging closer to a Fir Park exit, with Serie A side Udinese now leading the race for the 18-year-old's signature. Celtic have long been credited with interest in the Scotland Youth International and made an approach in January. However, there's been no fresh move from Parkhead this summer, and with competition already intense in midfield, it's unlikely the Hoops will reignite their pursuit. Despite some claims suggesting otherwise, Celtic have opted not to push forward, having already bolstered midfield options with Nygren and Arne Engels expected to kick off on this season, alongside mainstays Callum McGregor and Rio Hatate. Luke McCowan is also part of the squad, leaving little room for a teenage addition to break through. Back in January, Udinese had a £2.5 million bid knocked back by Motherwell, but with Miller entering the final year of his deal, the Italians are expected to return with an improved offer closer to the Steelman's £5 million valuation. Bologna are also keeping tabs on the situation. Miller, who has made waves since his Premiership debut, is thought to favour a move abroad, with the promise of regular football and a clear development path seen as key factors in his decision-making. For Celtic, a deal at this stage would be more about stockpiling than immediate need. And while Miller remains a talent worth watching, the timing simply doesn't fit the current midfield structure at Lennox Town. In other news, Brendan Rodgers has moved to clarify remarks that stirred concern among Celtic supporters after referring to Hayato Inamura as a club signing, a phrase that led some to believe the manager had little involvement in the deal. Rodgers' original phrasing sparked unease among fans who felt it implied a disconnect between the coaching staff and recruitment department. But speaking before Celtic face Ajax on Thursday, the Celtic boss made clear that all arrivals fall under his scrutiny regardless of who first identifies them. Rodgers said this: "That's what I need to assess those guys coming in, but I also need to win now, and we need to get those players in. Either way, I will be responsible for that. Club signings, with the greatest respect, I don't care where they come from. I just need good players in the building who can help us win today, tomorrow, and the next week. I've always developed players in my career, so I respect that side of it, but also the need for the present," Rodgers concluded. Inamura has impressed during pre-season and may yet force his way into Rodgers' plans despite initially being expected to head out on loan. The left-back was only playing his first senior minutes last year, but the early signs suggest he could play a part at Celtic sooner than expected. He's come in and slotted at left-back during pre-season and has looked like a really good addition. It's his wide range of passing that stood out most. Rodgers is still keen to add to his squad. It's a bit thin and doesn't match the quality of last season's, especially with Nicholas Kuhn's departure to Como. Celtic start their league campaign in just over a week's time and desperately need some bodies in the door, especially on the wings. Lastly, Celtic could be set to receive a major pre-season boost tonight with the return of defensive duo Cameron Carter-Vickers and Alistar Johnston for the clash against Ajax in the Football on the Lake tournament. According to the Daily Record, both players are expected to feature in Como as Brendan Rodgers continues his preparations for the upcoming season. Carter-Vickers has been managing a minor fitness issue throughout pre-season and has been eased back gradually. Meanwhile, Johnston was granted an extended break after his involvement with Canada at the Gold Cup, which extended into the summer. Both players have been key figures in Celtic's defensive structure, and their return will be welcomed by Rodgers, who is eager to get his full squad up to speed ahead of the new campaign. With a showdown against Ajax on the cards, the match offers the perfect platform for the pair to shake off rust and build sharpness. The Hoops will then be in action over the weekend, facing either the hosts Como or the Saudi side Al Ahly. For Rodgers, it's also a chance to see how his backline functions with key personnel back in place, something that will be crucial heading into both domestic and European fixtures. What are your thoughts on these? Let us know down in the comment section below. Make sure you've liked this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content.